My name is Timaree Hagenburger, and I have been a dietitian for 21 years now, and I teach full-time as a nutrition professor, as well as do TV work and other things, especially my work that I do with ICC. And during this lockdown time was mid-semester for me, so we had to go into remote instruction, but I just took my classes on live Zoom because I have very strong connections with my students and I wanted to still be with them, even if it was, through technology. So it actually got busier for me. Instead of, a lot of people got a little quieter with their work, but mine actually increased. But I was able to finish everybody out through the semester and had a little bit more time to do some cooking. I do love cooking, and one of my favorite times of year now is this spring and summer because of all the fruit. So that fresh fruit, all of a sudden it starts coming into the supermarket, and my kids especially are fruit lovers. So that's been a wonderful time. This was some time that our family was able to take our front yard project to the next level. So our front yard is now 100% edible. So we have planted only edible crops in the front yard. So we have everything from ancho peppers to cucumbers of all different types, strawberries. I have purple collard trees that are growing, parsley, oregano. I have cilantro. Let's see, what else do I have? Banana peppers. And I just go out there every morning and harvest and then come in, or just now I grabbed some pineapple mint. So we're going to talk about that during the cooking demo. But that has been a huge gift. And it's amazing how many people walk by or bicycle by and stop and say, wow, your yard is gorgeous. And it really warms our heart because it's bringing joy to the community, but also with us being plant-based eaters, it only makes financial sense to grow. Instead of watering a yard or a lawn, we're growing food. So that was what my husband and I decided. Nothing that was going to be planted that wasn't edible. So I am going to, today is, a recipe is very simple, but it's something to bring us back to for immune strength and immune support. So, and just life support, really. And that is fruit. So it's interesting, but research shows that fruit eaters have actually 50% less DNA damage at any given time. So our bodies, we know, we're insulted thousands of times a day. The estimate I've seen is about 800 to 900 times an hour. So we're talking about thousands and thousands of times a day. And our body is set up in order to fix that damage. Normally we have these antioxidants that will help, but the support that fruit and the phytonutrients that the fruit provides just help our bodies more than you could ever imagine. So again, think about not only for cancer, and we'll talk about that a little bit, but just in general, we've even seen studies for some of these fruits reducing how long a cold lasts and how severe it is. So people underestimate the value of fruit. And so we're not going to do that today. We're going to value it. I have chosen very specific items, as I always do with our cooking demos, because each one has extremely beneficial phytonutrients. So you're going to hear that word a lot. Phyto, P-H-Y-T-O. That's for plant, but when I teach my students, I also remind them phyto means fight, and that's fight for your health. And that's what these nutrients do for our cells. So I'm starting with an apple. And again, the lowly apple, one of my first classes in my nutrition course, that I show a video about how powerful the phytonutrients are in the skin of the apple, to the point where they have tumor suppressor gene, that they will turn on a tumor suppressor gene that normally gets turned off by cancer. So not only does it help reduce growth, but it also reduces metastasis or spreading of cancer. So many people peel their apples, and that is the worst thing you can do. You want to make sure you clean it, and then you want to just take out the core. And for me, I'm always wanting to make sure I get value for my money. And I see people cutting apples and they just slice down each side and leave a big amount that they throw away. Oh, it drives me crazy because there's so much goodness in apples. Now apples, so this is how much at max you want to throw away. I mean, just a small amount. But apples also are pretty heavily sprayed, so I always make sure that I buy organic. So it's something for you to note that the EWG.org, Environmental Working Group, that website will tell you what are the 15 most pesticide-laden fruits and vegetables and what are the clean, the 15 cleanest. So it's nice. They actually do a huge list, but you can get the top, they call it the dirty dozen and the clean 15. And apples are always ranking high. Same thing with strawberries, okay? So it's just important to make sure you're buying organic for those, or at least if you're going to a farmer's market, you're asking if the farmer sprays, because sometimes they don't spray, but they haven't qualified or they can't afford the USDA organic certification, but they also live in the property where they farm and they don't spray. So it's something to ask. So apples, make sure you don't peel them. The other piece about apples is the more color, and this is a secret for all fruit, the more color, the more phytonutrients. It's actually the pigments in the fruits and vegetables that provide this protection. So we want nice red or brightly colored fruit. So these apples are, you can see, they're nice red. So that's fantastic. So I love the crunch of apples. Pears are also excellent and they have their own benefits. Apples also provide a lot of fiber, and something that's important for all of these fruits is that they help us hydrate. So in the summer, and especially if you're inside with a lot of air conditioning, when it gets hot, you're going to get dehydrated easily. So you want to make sure you're getting enough fluid, but you can also get that fluid through food, and especially ripe fruits and vegetables. Okay, so there's apple. Next is kiwi. Now, kiwi is like a stealth warrior when it comes to our immune system. Now, there are people who are allergic to kiwi, and obviously it's not for them. But if you're not allergic, we have both the green kiwi, okay, which you've seen, and then we have the gold kiwi. And the gold actually in some studies imparted even more antioxidant, and it was actually an respiratory. They were looking at respiratory illness, and they saw with people who consume kiwi, it was much less, and gold was more protective. Now, some of you may have just looked at what I was doing and saying, I think you skipped a step. What do most people do with kiwi? They peel it, right? Do I peel it? No. Why? Even more fiber and nutrients. So as long as you're cleaning them well, there's no need to peel. What I found is that the gold kiwi have an even thinner skin, and they're not very furry. But my students usually look at me and say, oh my gosh, how do you eat that? I just get used to it. It doesn't bother me at all. So the only thing you want to make sure you take out is that little bottom. I call it like a little thumbtack, right? At the very bottom. So we don't want that. So we're going to cut some kiwi. Kiwi is technically in the berry family. So think of how beneficial berries are, and we're going to add some. But with kiwi also, not only has it been shown to help reduce DNA damage and help your cells recover from DNA damage, but it's also been shown to be helpful for people with IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. So again, unless you are allergic, kiwi should be something that you include on the regular. And if you end up with a nice bumper crop of kiwi, you can freeze it. So I would just rinse it, slice it, and freeze it. I use my freezer a lot. I'm actually going to explain something else I use it for. Now, citrus. Again, there are some people that have allergies to citrus, but in general, we see citrus eaters can drop cancer rates by as much as 10%. So citrus is critical. And if you've seen me before working with citrus, you know I use this microplane. And what I'm doing is I'm taking the zest, just the very top. Okay, so you can see just the top layer. I did not get into the pith. I just want the very top because this is so bioactive. So not only does it give us some flavor, but it also gives us protection. And they have done studies where they've compared orange juice, and it doesn't give us the protection that eating the entire fruit does. Now, I don't know how common in my family, I just love it, the kumquats, the little tiny citrus, where you roll them and then you eat the whole thing with the peel and the inside. Oh, those are excellent, obviously, because you get all of that goodness. So this is just little cuties, but any of the citrus is excellent. We're going to add some lime as well, and lime zest. And I want to add some more berries. So again, I told you kiwi was one of the fruits that are in the berry family that people typically don't think about as berries. But I'm also putting in blueberries. So with this fruit, all of this fruit can be found in my refrigerator, obviously, or on the counter. But there's something magical about cutting it up. My family will walk by it, but if it's all cut up, it's so easy, and then it becomes a go-to snack. So don't underestimate the importance of just taking a little bit of time to put together a special fruit salad instead of leaving apples in the bottom drawer of the refrigerator to just go bad. That's one of the situations that I hear my students and community members say is that they buy food and it goes bad. So as I had mentioned when Sam asked me what I've been doing, I had mentioned that there's a meal planning blog that I wrote, or article that I wrote. And that idea of having a plan, not just going to the grocery store and buying whatever looks good, and then you get home with these random things, half of it goes bad in your refrigerator, that's not gonna go well for your budget or your body. So I have some fresh blueberries. This doesn't typically happen in my house. I normally use frozen, but for today I was doing something else earlier today that I needed fresh blueberries, so that's why I have them. I always choose frozen because they don't mold. So when I normally look for berries, I'm very careful because they're expensive in the supermarket. So I'm looking for the best little container of organic blueberries or raspberries, and I find one that I think has no mold. And then by the time I get home from the grocery store, somehow I pop it open and there's mold. It drives me crazy. So I like to get frozen, and you can find organic frozen berries of all types very easily. But we'll put in some of these fresh blueberries. So far you can see we're looking good on color. And then what I want to do before I add some spices that I'm going to talk about is add some lime. So whenever you use citrus for the juice, so limes or lemons, it's important to roll them because you're breaking up some of the little cells in there and you're going to get more juice out. Now, always zest before you squeeze. Otherwise, you're going to have little pieces that are going to be hard and you may end up zesting your finger instead of the citrus. So we're going to do a little bit of lime on top. Now, I had mentioned that I use my freezer a lot. And My students know I am always putting things in the freezer. Now, this is interesting. This is little packets that I did of zest. So our neighbors had a huge, they have a gigantic lemon tree with lemons that are literally like bigger than a softball. So they're all ready at the same time. I can't use them all. So I zest and then I make ice cubes from the juice. And then I have those in a bag in the freezer. And then when I need lemon juice and lemon zest, I just pull it out. All right? So that makes it very, very easy. So we did some lime. Now I'm going to squeeze some lime juice. This will help also with keeping the apple not to change the oxidized, right? The Maillard reaction. So I'm going to do some fresh lime. And if you ever have a watermelon that just doesn't taste that great, put lime on top and it will taste fantastic. I also love lime on papaya. Very special flavor. So very tropical. We've got lime juice. Now, all that I have left to add is some greens. So again, as a dietitian, I'm a crazy girl about greens. This is pineapple mint from my yard, and it is just thriving. Now, a little tip for your gardeners, or if you want to do this in even in your windowsill. When you're doing mint, do not put it in the ground. It will take over. So you want to do mint in a pot. So we have the grow bags, which if you haven't ever seen those, they're felt grow bags. You can find them online and they're like $1 each. And then you can move them around and figure out where your plants are happiest. Because sometimes pots can be expensive. So those grow bags are a treat. So pineapple mint. Now, you may think, oh, this is just a little bit of greens. Will this actually make a difference in your health? Yes. Short answer, yes. Greens are phenomenal. We are built to run on greens. So even in my fruit salad, I figured out a way to get some greens. All right, so I've got that mint in there. Now, I had spoken in the past about the importance of spices, because spices are going to be very critical for immune system as well. So I have a mixture of different things that I wanted to just mention. In the past, I've talked about my chai spice blend, and we at the June event last year, we featured some special chai tea that we made with almond milk and my chai spice blend. This is on my website and in my cookbook, The Foodie Bar Way. I also have, and that chai spice blend includes turmeric, which is basically the most potent, which you know very well, the most potent of the antioxidant spices. It also has black pepper, which that combination is fantastic. I also have a pumpkin pie spice, and this, along with a lot of other very important spices like ginger, which we're going to talk about in a second, it also has cloves. Now, cloves are strong, and that is something that most people would associate with pumpkin pies, that little bit of cloves. They're very strong, but they're very potent. Just a pinch will make a difference in your cells. And then I have rosemary, which is not going to go here, but I wanted to include this because it's been recognized as potent for antioxidant. And gooseberries. So amla powder. I use amla every single day. I incorporate it into my fruit salads, in my oatmeal. Amla, this gooseberry that you're, I'm sure, familiar with because I get it at the Indian spice store, is one of the most potent, if not the most potent berries on the planet. So it has kind of a bitter taste, but over this, it tastes amazing. And the other two are flax and chia seeds. So ideally, you're going to get fiber, protein, omega-3s, lignans, all kinds of fantastic cancer-fighting nutrients from these. But you want to crush them. So I have a little coffee grinder that I have just relegated just to that job of grinding chia and flax. So those go in there and I do a little zoom, and then I can put some on top. So we can do that right now. Is the other thing I keep in the freezer, or well, lots of things in the freezer, but one of the other things pertaining to this is ginger. So if you keep ginger in the refrigerator, it goes bad. It will dry out or it will mold. However, when you put it in the freezer, it stays great. And what I have found, again, with this zester, is when you chop up ginger, it gets stringy sometimes. However, when you use the microplane, especially if it's frozen, it does a fantastic job. And again, we'll put that right on top because ginger is another one of those antioxidant rich herbs, roots, right? So this is now complete once we get the seeds on top. And I'm going to put a little bit of the chai spice. I can never get enough of that. I love it. So there's our, I want chai spice. There's our flaxseed and chia, chai spice. Now it's not going to look as beautiful, but it is tasty and nutritious and health promoting in every way. So we can see